Welcome back to Forward Progress, presented by FanDuel. We are back, and we're going to be taking a look at the things you're going to want to keep an eye on heading into training camp. There's a ton of stories throughout the NFL. We're going to be honing in on 7 to get these guys out of the way quickly, though. I feel like everyone's going to be talking about them. So I'm just going to mention some of the QB battles that we're not really going to be going in depth on in this video. Obviously, the Browns looks like Joe Flacco is most likely to be that quarterback, according to FanDuel minus 102. You have the Saints situation where Tyler Shuck drafted in the second round, minus 310 to lead that battle. And then finally, the New York Giants, big question on everyone's mind, who will be the starter? Seems like it's Russell Wilson, minus 1,400 for him to start over at FanDuel. But we're going to take a look at some other things, including how these teams are going to approach these groupings come week 1. Are we going to see some trades? Is there going to be anything in the pipeline? Because it seems like if things stay at the status quo for these teams, they might be in trouble. And we'll start with the Dolphins here, the Dolphins secondary, which is a grouping that you wanted to touch on and take a look at. Obviously, they made that trade. They moved on from Jalen Ramsey. They brought in Minkah Fitzpatrick. But this secondary grouping is looking super, super weak. I mean, I remember what this defense looked like 2 years ago. There's been a lot of turnover, but like Vic Fangio was clearly the guy running this defense and like getting as much out of it as they could. Doesn't seem like Weaver could do the same that Fangio was able to do with this defense last year. So, I mean, you'd have a defensive coordinator who hasn't seemed like he's been able to elevate his players. A very, very thin safety and cornerback grouping. What are your thoughts on this Dolphins secondary heading into training camp?
I would say they lost their best player, and like most of the depth chart looks really, really rough. Like Minka Fitzpatrick has been pretty decent, but I don't think he's been that great center field safety in like recent memory. So you're looking at a depth chart with like if you look at the quarterbacks like Calico, Cam Smith, Doug Storm, Artie Burns. I mean, honestly, I would be shocked if the Dolphins didn't sign like anyone in free agency. There are a few cornerbacks on the market, a few veterans, some experience. I don't see how they approach week 1 with that cornerback depth chart.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's super thin.
safety is probably also downgraded from last season.
For sure. Super thin grouping right there. And the good news, like good news for the Dolphins, every single year it seems like there's a couple cornerbacks and safeties left over on the market when you kind of head into training camp. Guys like Rasul Douglas are available right now, Asante Samuel Jr., Mike Hilton, even, I mean, an aging, very old Stephon Gilmore, but seems to be better than the pieces they have on the field. And also, they didn't really invest anything in terms of draft capital. I believe they made 1 5th-round pick at corner and BJ Adams. But other than that, like, wasn't their priority this offseason. Seemed a little bit weird. This is going to be a very scary grouping in the bad way if you're a Dolphins fan heading into 2025 if they don't make any moves. Let's move on to the next team here. We're going to talk about the Texans, who we talked about a little bit on this channel. I mean, they had this crazy shuffle this offseason. They moved on from Laramie Tunsil. They move on from Shaq Mason. They bring in Trent Brown, Laken Tomlinson, Cam Robinson, all downgrades at all those guys. Tunsil and Mason really held that line together last year. This is a shaky offensive line grouping. PFF has them as the worst O-line in the league. Sumo, what's going on here?
I have no clue because I think the Texans identified their O-line as being a big problem last season. I mean, several experts or media experts have been calling out the offensive line and the offensive line coaching, and Stroud had no chance and whatsoever. And then they trade away Laramie Tunsil, their by far their best guy. And if you look at this depth chart right now, I mean, that's rough. Like going from Tunsil to Cam Robinson. Cam Robinson is a solid left tackle, but he's not in like Laramie Tunsil's zip code. And overall, I think if you rank this unit 32nd, I think it's hard to argue against. Definitely a bottom 5 unit on paper. And I mean, Braden Sheriff is still available in free agency. Might fix one of the guard spots, but I don't see how this offensive line is going to play better than last year's version. And we saw how this offense collapsed under a bad offensive line / combined with injuries.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for them. I mean, like you mentioned, there might be some free agents available, but they're like the bookend tackles, it seems like they have that locked in, right? Like they signed their guys and well below what Tunzel was offering them. A very head scratching move considering how poor we talked about this, how poor CJ Stroud looked last year behind that shaky O line. There's only so much a quarterback can do to elevate his O line. O line's got to give him something to work with, and it doesn't seem like it's in the Texans' plans moving forward. Before we get into the Green Bay wide receivers, which is kind of a hot button issue in terms of this offseason. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors over at FanDuel. It might be the offseason, but if you want to bet on NFL futures, FanDuel is the place to go for that action. FanDuel has anything that you can bet on in terms of NFL futures, from player award props, team futures, win totals, rushing props, receiving props, passing props. They even have their touchdown markets posted now. And guess what? You can parlay them together. The excitement for something new is live at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/forward progress to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/forward progress. Now, we talked about two units who probably need to add something in the offseason to kind of improve because they're kind of shaky right now. But the Green Bay wide receiver group, we're not talking about them adding someone. We're trying to figure out who's going to go where, right? You have Jaden Reed, you have Romeo Doubs, you just drafted Matthew Golden. What's going to happen with Christian Watson? How is this going to shake out? What are the 3 wide receiver sets going to look like? These are questions that have been kind of going through my mind this offseason. Do you have any input on that?
My best guess would be that it's going to be Matthew Golden and Jaden Reed. And then it's basically all guesswork. I would say Romeo Doubs, probably best chances, but they drafted Savion Williams in the 3rd round, probably on purpose. Christian Watson, not sure when he's going to be back. They were saying he's progressing well in his rehab, but I feel like everyone says this during summer, so probably we won't see Watson until, like, I don't know, October the earliest. So it's likely going to be, or my best guess is that's a healthy dose of Golden. Jaden Reed, I like Reed a lot, and then it's probably Romeo Doubs, Savion Williams as the 3rd guy with some Dontavian Wicks mixed in. But this is a very interesting collection because I think they really need Gold to be that guy, because without Christian Watson, it's basically a collection of like wide receiver 2s, wide receiver 3s, and they really need that one guy who can also stay healthy. That will help.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I even forgot about Dontavian Wicks when writing this, but like everything I hear about this guy is crazy, but he has that one issue with him where he can't catch the ball. And if you're a wide receiver in the NFL, that's like probably a little bit important. So Wicks, just catch 1,000 passes this offseason. Hopefully you can separate yourselves from this big grouping, because it just got a little bit tighter. And I mean, I don't see a path to playing time for him. And yeah, Matthew Golden, like, they need someone to, he's a little bit short, only 6 feet tall, but like they need someone to come out and be like that, their true alpha, because they don't do it. But hey, they've been able to operate without a true alpha for a couple of years now. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe it's just a big, gross mixture of like 5-6 receivers every single game, and you just see a big wide receiver shuffle. And you know what? That might work in their advantage, because that's kind of a hard thing to scheme for defensively, but we'll see. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. We talked about quarterbacks off the top. I want to look at one quarterback grouping in particular, the Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson battle for the Indianapolis Colts. We talked a little bit about how the Colts kind of have to figure out what's going on with Anthony Richardson. If Shane Steichen wants to stay a head coach in the NFL, he needs success out of these guys. He brings in Daniel Jones to kind of put pressure on Anthony Richardson. But I mean, like, what are we doing here? If Anthony Richardson isn't it, you're just kind of done regardless. Like, do you have any hope in this offense if either of these guys are starting?
I would have more hope if it's Daniel Jones, honestly, because Anthony Richardson, we saw these few highlights, like his deep bombs, and if he takes off as a runner, that looks great. But that passing attack with him was basically completely horrific. Like, he could not complete passes whatsoever. And I really think that I don't like Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones is one of the worst active starting quarterbacks. But I think just in terms of passing, distributing the ball ability, I think that Daniel Jones will be a maybe a massive upgrade over Anthony Richardson, because I think Shane Steichen is a guy that can really orchestrate like a robotic, short, middle of the field kind of offense where Daniel Jones can just sling it around and complete more passes than Anthony Richardson. And you can also use Daniel Jones as a runner, so you don't really have to change the offense that much. So yeah, I actually like that collection of pass catchers.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it, like 3 solid receivers. We like Shane Steichen. Tyler Warren might be a very solid addition. So I think that Daniel Jones might be looking much better than his actual talent level just because of the supporting cast. And I think his skill set can elevate that offense more than Anthony Richardson's did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they still have that strong offensive line as well. Like pieces are in place. Jonathan Taylor as well to maybe alleviate some of that pressure, create a threat in the running game. FanDuel right now has no idea what's going to happen with these guys. It's like 51% Anthony Richardson, 49% Daniel Jones, according to these odds. So it's a little bit up in the air, as you can say, almost a true 50-50. Doesn't seem like anyone other than, maybe Shane Steichen has no idea what's happening here. So it's going to be a big guessing game for them. 2 more groupings to talk about here. Up next, Saints run defense. I mean, one of the weakest teams on paper, one of the weakest teams in the NFL, but like their defensive line is atrocious. I mean, this team will get eaten up in the run game, and considering how bad this team is overall, how poor this offense is going to be, there's going to be a lot of teams maybe up a few scores, and they're going to just be feasting against this run defense. So, I mean, what do we make of this? Like, who are the Saints, and like, how are they going to address these run defense problems?
Yeah, so last season they ranked bottom 3 in EPA per play against running back runs, and they also ranked second worst behind the Carolina Panthers in success rate against non-QB runs. And it's basically the same personnel on the field this season, and you add a DC in Brandon Staley who has had tremendous issues defending the run. He likes to defend the one out of light boxes. He had a lot of success with the Rams in, I think it was 2020, but that year he had Aaron Donald, and all of a sudden everyone thought, hey, defending the one out of too high with like light boxes is the next big thing. But the Chargers always had a very, very bad run defense. And that combination of that run defense already being bad, same personnel, Brandon Staley, who likes to defend out of light boxes, I think this screams disaster. And I would not be surprised at this point if the Saints are going to have like the worst run defense next season. And last season they usually played like stronger boxes, so I just don't see where the upside with that front 7 and Brent Staley is going to come from.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking forward to kind of take advantage of that hopefully early on the season. I'm sure it's going to be baked in, but like Cardinals, Niners, Seahawks, first 3 games, like give me all of CMC, Isaac Orlando, give me all of those guys, James Conner, like could be big days for those 3 guys, especially if you're a fan of fantasy. Could be something to consider when you're drafting that early season schedule. Last grouping here, the Cowboys. Rob, cover your ears. This linebacking group is incredibly thin. And on top of that, DeMarvion Overshawn is probably not coming back to start the year. So it's going to be even thinner. We don't know when he's going to come back. But I mean, what is there to do? What is there for them to do here? Like, are there any linebackers available in free agency? Like, how do you think that they will address this issue?
They have to sign someone. Maybe it's Eric Kendricks again. I don't know. But if you look at the current starting linebackers, likely going to be Kenneth Murray, one of the maybe the worst starting linebacker in the NFL. And then Jack Sanborn came over from Chicago, is familiar with Matt Eberflus, the new defensive coordinator, but I also don't like him a lot. So this right now on paper looks like the worst starting tandem at linebacker in the league. Third guy is the guy who they drafted in the, I think, 3rd round last season, Maris Liafu. He showed some promise in his rookie season, but is likely going to be the third option overshown. He completely blew away his second major knee injury in his young career. So I would be betting that the Cowboys will sign any kind of linebacker in free agency. Like, I think this group will get absolutely torched during training camp.
Yeah. I mean, Eric Kendricks is available, who was with them last year. Shocked that he hasn't been signed yet, looking at how thin that grouping is. Maybe you try and like sign Devondre Campbell. I don't know. Like, it's going to be tough for them out there. And on top of that, if you're Micah Parsons and you're heading into this season, you're saying, hey, I want a big contract. This is a perfect time to hold out. Like, they have absolutely nothing on defense. You are that engine of that defense. And if they don't have you, they are one of the worst defenses in the league. And that gets me to the last thing I want to talk about here, which is the potential holdouts. Any holdouts you're keeping an eye on heading into this offseason, or sorry, into this preseason?
Yeah, it's basically TJ Watt and Trey Hendrickson. And we don't know about Micah Parsons' contract. Last info that I read was that Cowboys are taking things slowly. Not sure whether he's actually going to hold out. I think that some Cowboys beat page said that he might be looking for 200 million in total value. So this is going to be a massive contract, and I think the Cowboys completely messed this up. Like, they are a team that doesn't or isn't trying to sign their guys early like the Eagles, so they save a few dollars. Yeah, this is going to be probably an ugly negotiation, and yeah, get that back, Mika. But yeah, I would not be surprised if he. I would not be surprised if they cannot get it done prior to week 1. But usually, when like things are starting to heat up and players are starting to hold out, things might get very quickly.
Yeah, fair enough. And that wraps it up for us here today. If you enjoyed the content, do us a favor, smash that like button. It goes a long way for us here in the algorithm. And also drop your comments down below. What type of groupings are you looking at, saying, scratching your head, saying, how are these guys not addressed this yet, this deep into the offseason? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. And if you're new to the channel, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button as well. Got tons of new content coming your way. On top of that, Q&A coming. So there'll be a link in the comments. Check the pinned comment. Have any questions regarding anything, nothing's off limits here. Send them that way, and we'll be answering them in a video shortly. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.